time. I know you guys are busy there. And yes, the hump day is it's humping.
Yeah, it's real.
It's doing
It's
that.
real.
Um, yeah, so to kind of go off what Jason said, thinking about, prior to LeadHelm, I know my conversations with Jason were really about, I think one was just accountability, and just being able to really have better accountability and transparency of what's happening or maybe not happening. The second one that I remember was just feeling like, we're spending all this money to get leads, but I'm not seeing like the return on investment or kind of the maybe the more financial side wasn't quite lining up where we would have liked to see it. Um,
Hmm.
and then the third one I think was it might just be fair to say just process or performance, just in general, just wanting to see like a higher performance on the leads. Um, is there any outside of those three things, I guess performance, accountability, and return on investment, was there any pain points like for you on your end that you really feeling prior to lead home?
I mean, the biggest thing was, just I guess process management for me.
Hmm.
And, in terms of, Lightspeed CRM is great, but it's very clunky in terms of to see actually is happening, right? You basically have to actually go into each deal individually to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of whatever you say you did, right? That's the biggest problem I had with it, that I wanted something that was, it tells me what you did, not you're telling me what you did.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
we wanted data that couldn't be readily manipulated. And then it definitely improved frequency with contacts, right? We weren't contacting enough and we weren't pushing for appointments. We were pushing for quotes, right? We were absolutely a phone quote.
That is yes. That's certainly I think back when I was inside the dealership, I think about like all the sales trainings I received, and probably 1% of it had anything to do with the phone being in my hand. It was all on the floor and how to write up customers and how to get through the process. And I think that um, we kind of go that route, of trying to just be on the floor over the phone, and it just doesn't work. You know what I mean? It's almost more of that softer nurturing uh, kind of approach. So you mentioned, not maybe not nurturing the leads enough to get the appointments.
Yeah, not being tenacious for sure, right? Where we were like, that guy didn't call me back. To me, it's
Mhm.
always about the response from the customer is what's important. I don't care how many times or how many different ways people try. The
Mhm.
attempt isn't important. The customer actually responding is what is,
Yep.
you know?
Gotcha. Hmm. And would you say there's any other kind of pain points that you can maybe think of? Something that kind of directly tied into.
Really, I think the handoff from customer care from a BDC to the major unit department was difficult, really difficult. Um, and it's become a lot better with LeadHelm. Uh, just because what would happen is there'd be a handoff and then no action, right?
Mm,
So a lot of times it would be these leads would end up with a major unit salesperson, and that salesperson just would never get in touch with the customer. So it's like, why did we even bother?
yep. Yeah. So the ball either gets dropped or miscommunications, those kind of things.
Hmm. Yep.
Gotcha. I'm writing because I can't type that fast. So
That's totally fine, man.
if I was typing, you'd see me over here
What
going
whatever works for me, brother.
like. um, well, I guess just kind of maybe what would be easiest is maybe just kind of reverse engineer those. So, you mentioned the process management, feeling like the CRM was, kind of too clunky and didn't want to have some of that, he said, she said going on in the CRM. Um,
Hmm.
what would you say has been the biggest positive, having that with LeadHelm? Is it, kind of the peace of mind, or is it being able to know
Just
that?
instant accountability.
Yeah.
right? And real accountability, where it's a matter of, like if I have someone who's not performing in mornings, I can jump on and I can see real time. Okay, what is this person actually doing? Like, are they at their desk? Are they kind of dragging their feet? Are they trying to meet standards? Are they trying to get with customers, or are they just going through the motions? Right. So I do like that. And then you can look long term and short term. You can very easily switch between agents or just look at stores. So I think the reporting has really helped a lot with just immediate accountability for things.
And you mentioned the reporting. Do you find that you're looking at like more user reporting or the dealership reporting more
Depends
often?
on
Or
what
is it,
I'm trying to figure out.
yeah, okay.
Um,
I was just curious if maybe you found yourself looking at you more than the dealer.
it's about the same, I think, because I'm concerned with, both overall lead volume of if we're not getting as many leads as we did, where's the issue? Like, is our advertising or marketing not being effective? What's going on there?
Hmm.
Um, and then the other side of things is looking at users. Okay, if we're pumping money into this to try to increase lead volume, what are we doing with that? Of it.
That makes sense. And I guess probably the simplest way to put it would just, when you see like or when you go to LeadHelm and you see, let's say, the note or the action that took place, you don't have to second guess whether or not that action actually took place. You're able to have that instant
Hmm.
confidence and
I know there was a phone call made. I know there was a text message sent, emails. I would love to see emails because some customers are email only, but I also see those as very low value. So, I think you're it's very difficult to create rapport via email, right? So we
yeah,
really like that's basically to me, if a customer says, I'm only giving you my email, it's them saying to me, I really don't want to be friends with you.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, they work them, but I'm less concerned with that.
Yeah, I've almost you know, I would almost have like an email template with a video of me just saying, "Hey, I promise I won't call you. I'll just text you. Just give me your phone so I don't have to email you." And have that be the response for an email only lead. But yeah, we found the same thing with our data. Jason, I mean, email only leads were converting like like a tenth of a percent, and the amount of time and energy it took to convert them was just like you're almost doing more harm than good at that point.
Yeah, it's a very standoffish customer at that point,
Mhm.
They're also
you
the
know.
first ones that'll respond back upset. I said give me your best price and you didn't follow through, and they're the first one to off on you. It feels like in my experience, they don't have any like patience if you want to try to get a rapport started because they take that as well. You're just going to not give me what I want, so I'll never shop at your dealer again.
Definitely heard that from people, yeah.
Yeah. um, and then I guess just to keep moving, I guess the second one, you're not nurturing the leads enough to equal appointments. Are you seeing that the amount of touch points has increased
Since
greatly?
we've started building the department, absolutely. I think we were in a place where number one, we didn't have the staff, and number two, we didn't have a good way of doing things.
Hmm.
Um, so I think having LeadHelm has helped out with that a lot because, you know, it's easier to use. It really is than picking up the phone, then dialing, then texting on your per phone, whatever it may be, then texting through Connect. It's just way easier because it's all in one place. And that just increases efficiency, so it gives more time back to the people who are working them. And we built the staff size, so had enough people now to really manage the leads and not just, okay, I talked to this person, I can shove it off my plate, right? To really say there's a value to each one of these,
Hmm.
as opposed to this is work I just got to get done. So I think LeadHelm helped with creating efficiency and creating a system as far as, I love the longer cadence. Jason's been great about helping coach on that. Um, And then, people who had worked at DLP who are now with us are definitely very tenacious with those cadences, which is great to see, and not just letting a lead fall off the radar 100%.
Yep. That's awesome. Do you find that are working leads, I'm trying to think of a better way to say it, working older leads than maybe what they were before? Meaning, like, do you find that like you're getting appointments on 2-3 month old leads at all much, or?
I'm seeing a bit more of that, particularly at Morgan. I mean, where candidly, I was so pleasantly surprised when we started this. I put in a lead from a Google Voice phone number to see what happened, just to see what the system would be like, to see, where it would go. And now it was early on, so no follow-up activity got set for me. So I just got dropped after one text. I got one text, didn't reply to it, got dropped. Morgan, a week ago, texted me saying, "Hey, I saw, blah, 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 and this is now 8 old."
Yeah.
Right. So I think the ability to do that with the right training and the right process is there with LeadHelm, which is awesome to see. Because I experienced that as a fictitious customer, right?
I love hearing that. I love hearing that. More conversions on old leads, and it sounds like it sounds like you're not losing the life cycle of the lead, if that makes sense. So it's like even that 8-month-old lead, yeah, it might be 8 months later, but hey, we're still touching, people in the system, and that lead.
And that's the attempt to stand out and create a relationship. And I think that mentality shift is the biggest benefit I can see to LeadHelm, that we have truly started to shift from just get done with this to get a relationship and get this person in the dealership. And that's been a long process of trying to work towards that appointment versus quote.
Yeah.
Hey, on that point, just got a follow-up question on what I'm thinking of. So obviously 8 months ago, you only had one user.
Mm-hmm.
That user is obviously still with you. Do you feel like in the time since we started implemented this, has that teaching an old dog new tricks, has that made?
I think staff size has helped a lot for sure. I think I see more push towards an appointment now than I ever had out of him, which is great because that's ultimately what we want. This guy has experience with our dealership. He was dedicated to just working a pile of work that no one could possibly have done solo. Do I still see him as sometimes opportunity minded versus solution minded? Yeah, but I have definitely seen more of him moving in the direction that I would like to move.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, I know I've been try to be very transparent with all the interactions I've had, and I think he does a good job. I think as you get into that, mindset change for what you envision needs to be done, like relationship build versus transactional build. It's great that LeadHelm has helped provide him. You gotta start somewhere, and that he was doing a pile of work no one else wanted, whereas now he has help, he has a support team, and he has structure and process. And if LeadHelm's providing that basis, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that definitely was a big part of the foundation, and it's helped us refine our handoff process and how we're using our CRM as well. So I think there's a lot of good.
Love that. Well, I know we could probably even dig deeper and further into that conversation. I know performance was something that Jason, and I forget what he said. I don't remember when we originally talked. I think he shared he was at like a 2 or 3%, or just nowhere near really where he wanted to be.
As far as conversion goes, right?
Yeah, the overall conversion. Do you happen to know? I'm not sure maybe the best way to ask it, but in terms of like where you kind of sit performance wise now, do you kind of know what that tangible difference has been for you guys?
I mean, I would say let's take a look at February versus last month. How about that?
Yeah.
because that would have been the onset versus now. So February Blackman's cycle, we were a 2% conversion rate with 22% of our leads sold. And then I think we're 4% in this month right now. So let's check last month though, because that was a full month. And it has been a very soft month too.
Mm.
So let's look September. So September, we were 4% conversion, 29% sold. So,
And for some other, I track it too. So like, I think one of y'all's best months was July, so an in-season month, and your conversion rate was up at 6%.
Mhm.
So I think too, seasonality, obviously, like you said, soft months versus, really aggressive months, factor in. But
yeah, absolutely it does.
and then in June you were at 7%. So if those
Yeah,
numbers,
through the summer, definitely higher conversion rate.
do you put that, to feed off of Travis's question, do you put that increase from you were pretty much at 2% to this little bit of a peak and higher conversion as LeadHelm provided that help to get you there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge facet to it, obviously. I mean, and regardless if it only went from 2 to 4, that's a 100% gain, right? And I look at gains, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I look at a capable salesperson, like a godly salesperson should have like a 20% conversion rate if they're talking person to person physically here, right? A great salesperson would sell 20% to who they talk to. And I'm talking real physical ups, not phone ups. So, to me, to be at 4 points on things that include email only customers is not a bad thing. I don't look at that as a bad thing at all. To jump from 2 to 4 and then in peak months, tripling it or more than tripling it, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, uh, it's funny because that's kind of how I look at it, especially like personally, just stocks and cryptos and different stuff like that. And it's like it's all about the the gain. It's not about the number itself, if that makes sense. So no, I can definitely appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, to that point, to 2x or 3x, essentially within a month or two of being on the software, I think is awesome. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and you mentioned kind of like becoming more appointment focused and not really pushing the bike through the phone, so to speak. Do you have any type of kind of idea or maybe like metric around like how many appointments you were seeing before versus what you're seeing now?
I mean, we're definitely seeing more. I can't give you metrics on it,
Yeah.
but I can tell you that I have personally interacted with customers who are like, hey, I was talking to Johnny and I'm looking for Mick. And that never happened in the past,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's pretty common. And I'm also seeing like them communicating back and forth in a healthy manner of, hey, this person didn't show. And then trying to reach back out and, reschedule as opposed to just like, oh, this person didn't show, so what?
Yeah. So there's a little more of I call it like a one team, one score conversation and not so much the back and forth, if you will.
Yeah, that's definitely improved.
And that probably ties right into the BDC to sales handoff, like you mentioned. Just having better alignment between the two
Yeah,
departments.
yeah, better alignment, better transparency. And if the focus is appointment versus quote, it's less frequent transitions and a better relationship prior to that handoff. Therefore, the salespeople are going to view those as more valuable, right? If we're just pumping them over, it's, hey, I just want the best price. And we're like, okay, here you go, right? That's going to result in a ton of handoffs that are low value handoffs.
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can see why then sales staff would be like, dude, why do I even bother with this? You know? So,
So, so I'm trying to unpack that. So that
Mhm.
were you saying that basically would you say they're setting like higher quality opportunities for the sales team?
Yeah,
Is it
I
that
mean, because there's more of a communication, the more you talk to someone, the more opportunity there is to get them to like you, to trust you. And even if it ends up being a quote, you're going to be further along in the sales process than someone saying, "Hey, I just want to know the price." And you saying, "Okay, let me get that for you." Right? So,
Yeah.
they are at least further along within the greet at the point that they get over to sales, which means it's a higher quality lead, right?
Mhm.
Someone who's further along the process, closer to being ready to buy.
Jason, is there anything that you can think of around either the pain points or the outcomes?
No, I think we've covered it. I'm sure we could go down some of these rabbit holes a lot further, and um, I think it's a big part of the successes and the wins. To me, are Dave. Being involved and invested in the inspecting what he's expecting and making sure from the inside of the dealership that those things are progressing.
Yeah, I know Jason wishes he had a Dave at every dealer that we work with.
If I could clone myself, I would. I'd probably kill myself though. Like
Yeah.
I'd attack my clones because there can only be one.
Yeah, right, yeah. That was a good movie. With just to bring it back to that, you mentioned that process management.
Hmm.
And I know a lot of that has to do with like that accountability in real time. And then you mentioned like some of the reporting by the user. Is there any other like processes that maybe aren't directly um sales related per se, or like sales process related, but are there any other processes? Like I'm thinking like the communication you mentioned was kind of a process that wasn't necessarily sales, but that benefited. Are there any other maybe processes you can think of like F&I or anything that's also kind of been a part of that?
I mean, it definitely. So just looking at how we handle different leads, I think so perspective definitely changed a little bit in terms of because we were just pumping everything digital into LeadHelm really.
Mhm.
And I think you have to look at, and it helped us look at, okay, so these lead sources, particularly credit app as an example, right? So this person now filled out a credit application. Cool. That's great. Do we want to handle that with the BDC who should be masters of greet and starting the process and getting form, right? Getting familiar with people, creating rapport. Is that really what a person who's filled out a credit application wants? Probably not. Probably not even close to what they want. I know as a customer, what I would want is someone to call me telling me whether I was approved or not. That
Right,
was it.
right.
Not telling me, hey, I got your credit app and someone's going to run it because if I put a credit app in online blind at midnight, my assumption is, with a high credit score, at 10 a.m., someone's going to call me and say, when do you want to pick up your motorcycle?
Right.
Not someone's going to contact me at 9 a.m. saying, hey, we got your credit app and we'll be running it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And we fill out credit apps sometimes in the store. How how are these customer care agents going to know that, right? And does a person who filled out an app in the store think better of the business if we reach out to them and say, hey, I saw you fill out a credit application. Someone's going to be running that. It's like, well, I was in the store filling that credit application out, right? So the process change was really, okay, credit apps don't work. That's F&I entirely because they're
Mhm.
too far along in the sales process at the point they're filling out a credit app. That is not a lead that needs rapport building. That is not a lead that needs to be worked for an appointment. That is not a lead that needs to be worked at all. That is the responsibility of F&I. So I think that was a very beneficial thing.
I'm sure the more information that F&I has, the easier it is for them to get product, when it comes time to have those conversations. And the rapport that they'll have already built, I know goes a long way too.
But yeah, with that credit app thing, that was one of the bigger process things that we looked at, where it's like, how do we need to work certain different types of leads? Um, so I think that was the beneficial process change.
Yeah, and it kind of sounds like maybe um I don't know why I'm having a hard time putting my thoughts into words today. But
That's okay.
it almost sounds like, because you started to see insights or like opportunities, it kind of made you take a step back and look at other areas around that to see what
Oh,
else.
absolutely. Just, having the different metrics and the different data sets to look at and really drill down, if you want to really drill down or just look kind of high level, really helped out with thinking about, okay, how do we want this, and how is this going to work best for our customer and for our dealership?
Well, I think that's awesome. I mean, that really was what we were wanting to do is really just kind of better understand those.